Sorry, didn't see you there. It's on my tablet. Hi, I'm Steve from LZ23 Strength, where we strive to exert ourselves, elevate our health, and evolve in mind and body. And if you can guess by my sad little joke there, we're going to be talking about screen time. And you know, the channel deals with all things health, and wonder why I'm going to talk about screen time. Well, three specific areas of our health can be affected by screen time. So we're going to dive into that a little bit. Now, I realize screen time is important because that's why you're watching this lovely educational YouTube video, because of screen time. And when there's many positive things we get from screen time. We enjoy things, but we're going to talk about some things that we should contemplate at times and look at our schedules, look at our routines. I'm going to start by taking us way back to when it was just television. Back when it was just television, they used to always have studies and reports on how much TV is people watching, how much TV, hours and hours of TV, and they'd talk about it in such a negative way that people are wasting their lives watching TV. Well, then came 1992. You know what took place in 1992? A new term came into play because of computers. Surfing the internet. Fascinating, huh? That was over 30 years ago. Surfing the internet. That was a popular phrase. So people started to get in from TV, computers. Now we got our tablets, we got our phones. Screen time has taken over, literally. Many people's jobs involve looking at a screen all day. Then they're on their phone, maybe Instagram and YouTube, and talking to friends, and then sit down to watch your favorite TV show later. So screens have certainly come into play a lot, and there's still, I have to say, the jury's kind of still out on if it's good or bad. Some people definitely will say the amount of time that it does and things that it can affect people's health, that people will be against it, while others will say there's many benefits, you just got to control it. And it's funny, when people do studies or meta-analysis, they came up with some interesting thoughts recently that the data seems to be telling us that on the average population level, the positive and the negative effects of screen time is small. It's not that big of a deal. So I guess we don't need to talk about it anymore then, that screen time, it's been decided that it's not that bad. We know it's not going away anytime soon. But others will say, yes, there's things that we need to keep in mind. And many times, sadly, all the attention will go to young people. And they are particularly vulnerable to some things. I know video games, when I was young, you had to go to the arcade to play a video game. Some people had Atari at home and a few things, but in general, you went to an arcade. But now, in your own home, you could have the most realistic, almost as good as any movie, video games. And it consumes young people, but even not so young people. I know people that I work with, there's people that they play games all the time, and sometimes late into the evening, and get together with friends, and they're not kids, they're grown adults, and they're consumed with video games. We're talking in general, though, because there's so many aspects to. Before, you used to have several channels on TV. Now you got so many streaming services that people binge watch a series, where you used to, back in the day, have to watch one episode and you had to wait a whole week, be on the edge of your seat to watch the next one. Many people can watch in one weekend, they can watch a whole series and get it all out of the way. So time definitely is a factor when it comes to our screen time and what people are doing. So for now, I'm going to dig into the three things that I feel can be detrimental to one's health and our Healthspan journey. And the first one, as I mentioned, in different ways, is time. We're going to do it. We're going to have screen time. but how much? How much time? I guess each person, each circumstance is different, but if it consumes so much time that we're not exercising, we're becoming sedentary, that's an issue. That's real trouble. Another area could be that it's affecting our sleep. And there's a lot of encouragement not to have screen time before bed, that the blue light from different screens can have an effect in the quality of our sleep. Also, if you're watching some intense action thriller, that can get us worked up too, where it's harder to fall asleep. So there's definitely things that could affect the impact on our sleep. And then finally, social things. I'm sure you've been out to a restaurant and sitting near you, there was a couple, no talking going on. They're both just staring at their cell phones until the food comes. Or sometimes the whole family could be sitting there and everybody's looking on their cell phone, and it definitely can have an effect on our human interaction. So if you're obsessed and addicted and just always on screens, even though you might be communicating with human beings or seeing human beings, there's literally no human being contact there. So those three factors can definitely have an effect on our health. The sedentary part is dangerous because already statistically, the country and the world is basically sedentary. Statistically, there's not many people that exercise, lift weights, and do that on a regular basis. It's funny because I always think when I go to the gym, my gym has a pretty fair amount of people, young and older, but that's still just a micro slot of mankind, and the majority of people aren't doing that. And then talking about sleep, we need 7 or 8 hours is what is recommended. But if we're being affected by screen time and maybe we're not getting 7, 8 hours just because of screen time, if just that alone, there's so many other things that could affect our sleep, our diets and our routines, our work schedules. But now if we're throwing screen time into there, could be detrimental to our health span. So each person, we have to evaluate and look at our situation and the time that we're spending, how we're spending it on screens, to see if that's having an impact. And then again, human contact. There's a term, and some of the studies and articles that I was looking into on this talk about need to have quality family time. That's a saying that's been around for a long time, even before computers and before all these things. And it's funny, back then they used to do statistics even on that quality time, and moms in general spent way more time than fathers in quality time. But both, if I remember the numbers correctly, I didn't go look it up, but it was an hour a day or less. And for fathers, it was even worse than that. So saying quality time is every day doing as much as you can as a family. Families don't eat together anymore, or as I said, if they eat together, they're on their screens. And everybody is to some degree addicted to that. So we need to look at it individually and as families to see what's happening. And there's even other aspects when you look at people are dealing with anxiety, depression, because on the screens, whether it's shows or if it's social media, political things that people argue about on social media, there's a lot of venom, there's a lot of negativity, and all these things can play on individuals if we're already dealing with emotional issues, depression, loneliness. All these things can just exacerbate the situation and make somebody feel worse. So while screen time can be addictive, we don't want it to overload us with even more negativity than this world is putting out there in general. And even things like social media, where this might be considered social media in the sense of getting to know individuals. When you follow people and their profiles, they're usually curated to show the best. And when somebody's watching, they're into somebody, an influencer, and whatever, from sports to health to movie stars, business, whatever it is, you're only seeing the good things. And what can happen, you start to think, wow, these people have a perfect life because it looks perfect. What's being depicted looks like they don't have any troubles in the world. And why am I a loser? Why don't I look like them? Why don't I have what they have? And that can start to play on somebody's mind and their personality. And we're all dealing with things. Life in this world is hard, for sure. We don't need to have false images put up there to make us feel worse. If something's out there and it inspires us, educates us, that's great. But there's a lot out there that people can look at that and they look at themselves and kind of feel bad about themselves, and that's no good for anybody. That's not going to help Healthspan in any fashion. So certainly give attention to these things. Take a look at their screen time and maybe set limits. I know in some schools that they're not allowing kids to actually bring phones into class. And they've one interesting comment, they said schools are a lot noisier now. And that's because instead of everybody quietly looking at their phones, they're actually talking with other kids. So even as we get older, don't think that's a young person problem. Even as we get older, we're all have to work on these things. So screen time is awesome. There's a lot of great things that we can do, but don't let it stop you from exercising regularly. Don't let it affect your sleep. And by all means, get to know human beings, your family, friends. Make sure they're not crowded out by different forms of screen time. So I appreciate you watching. I encourage you to smash the like button, leave a comment, and please hit the subscribe. And we look forward to talking to you again. Appreciate you watching me on this screen, and have a great day.